everyone to the Evolutionary Show, hosted by yours truly, Professor Alley. Today we're going to be comparing the farm animals from today to the ones from the past. Back then, the animals were pretty crazy. They were much meaner and tougher looking than the animals today. Look at these chickens. They're like little that one just laid an egg. You just bared witness to nature at work. But anyways, they are really weak compared to the much meaner and tougher animals from the past. But you might be asking yourself, what makes comparing these animals important? Well, we're already well acquainted with our good old friend, the modern animal. So why should we care about its boring old grandparents? The thing is, learning about the ancestors of animals gives us insight on how they evolved, why they became how they are today, and what kind of people farm them. Anyways, today we're going to be focusing on 3 animals, and taking a look, 2 animals and a little bit of a lightning round. And we'll be taking a look at their primitive counterpart. As you can see behind me, we'll be starting with one of my favorite animals, the delicious chicken. Our domestic friends have been farmed for their meat, eggs, a common food you'll see all the time. Look at them. They're big, they're plump, and they're ready to be eaten. As you can see, these are hens. These chickens are. This is the counterpart in the game that we have, and look at these little chickens. Look at these guys. But let's look, and they usually are. Their habitats are in places like farms, backyards. Overall, chickens have been pretty domesticated. But the sad truth is, a majority of them do live within factories with poor conditions. Now, let's switch over to its primitive ancestor, the red jungle fowl, which alive today and surprises me. The information provided me for these animals was given by an article on the Business Insider titled, "Here's What the Animals We Eat Looked Like Before We Started Breeding Them," written by Tanya Lewis. The birds look a little similar to chickens. Darker feathers, a much smaller head. They look like and their legs appear to be slimmer. They obviously had to run away from prey and were much more feral and not really domesticated. The red jungle fowl was what originally formed before becoming the chicken of today, and they've originated primarily from Southeastern Asia, places like India or China. Now, surprisingly, the jungle fowls were not first bred for their food or eggs. It seems like they were first bred for cockfighting. Wait, what's that noise? Let's go check out what's happening over here. Is that an illegal cockfighting ring? Oh my goodness, what is this?
I am the Undertaker.
I am Bonesaw.
Oh no. It looks like who is that? It's a police officer. Oh no. Let's try to break it up. Oh my goodness. The chicken has a sword. Oh my goodness. Looks like the officer's escorting them to prison. And is that a spectator? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, fight! Yeah! Fight!
Looks like the officer isn't taking any prisoners. Nature truly is scary. Overall, they went through artificial selection to get to the chickens we know today. And through selective breeding, farmers made sure that they can get the best chicken possible. Well, I don't know what that was over there, but again, let's move on to another animal, the pig. Now, the info in this segment was provided by an article in the Science magazine written by Michael Balter, titled "Swine Envy in the Neolithic." Pigs are another staple of farming industries, bred primarily for food. Like, look at these guys. They're big, they're plump, and they really look ripe for eating. Well, I'm Muslim, so of course I would never eat a pig. In my culture, they are deemed as very unclean. But do as you must, eat as you must. I'm no one to judge. Anyways, the modern pigs showed up around 7,500 years ago in Europe by farmers that migrated to the west, causing Europe to start domesticating wild boars. Speaking of wild boars, that's the ancestor of the pig that we'll be discussing. The pigs we know today originates from the Eurasian wild boar, and the domestication of these animals started around 9,000 years ago, with the pigs we know, again, popping up around 7,500 years ago. These boars they were mostly from Europe and Asia, in those areas. Now, these animals were quite different than pigs. They looked much tougher, with big tusks and much darker hair. A fun fact that I got from KnowledgeNuts.com, an article called "What's the Difference Between Pigs, Hogs, and Wild Boars," is that wild boars and feral domesticated pigs are able to create healthy offspring that are similar to boars. Let's see some of this in action. Now, where can we find some wild boars? Let's look around. Seems to me that there's some wild boars in here, and a normal pig. We should give them some space. Oh, look, the wild boar's coming out. That must be his mate. Well, I wonder what they're going to go do. And this looks like the child. As you can see, this theory was true, as this modern pig, look at this man, he's strong, looks like he works out, and this wild boar created this offspring, which surprisingly looks like the wild boar parent. I'll tell you, I said it before and I'll say it again, nature is truly a crazy thing. Now, looking at the hybridation between boars and pigs, the similarities between them really brings home the point that they're the ancestors of the pigs we have today. Now, let's do a lightning round of some animals and compare the two. Next, we have the cow and its ancestral counterpart, the wild cattle, primarily found in Chillingham. Now, as we can see, the wild cow is it's a much lighter skin, much lighter hair, and looks much beefier, much stronger, with large tusks coming out from the top of its head. These animals are wild and were definitely not domesticated, so they have no sign of artificial selection from humans that would make them anything less than wild. Now, on the other hand, we have the Belgian Blue, much fatter and darker, primarily used for their meat, their leather, and their milk. Over here, we have a representation of the cows. See, look at them. And if we go and we get a bucket, we can actually, let me just open the cage here, milk them for some delicious milk. Now, I don't think it was that healthy to drink milk straight out of the cow's udder, but you know me, I'm a scientist extraordinaire and a professor, so it probably won't do anything. Now, again, we have the mouflon, and compared it to its modern counterpart, the domestic sheep. The mouflons are much slimmer and tougher, with huge-looking horns, whereas the sheep on the right are much more docile-looking and tame, bred for their wool and food. Now, that's all the time we have today, folks. We've looked at some crazy animals, and I hope that this gave you a better understanding of where farm animals today came from. I've been Professor Ali, and that was the evolution.